Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Reign of Horror. I am your host, Nerd Cosa Nostra. So, just a quick video today on this Sunday, October 27th. Something it's actually been out there now for a couple weeks, but I've noticed not too many people have been talking about it. I've seen a few uh, horror pages, sites kind of bring it up, but again, not too much attention from the fans. So I'm a little surprised about this. And what is that? It's the sequel news to Ready or Not. So I got a few articles. Just want to pull up. Won't be a long episode today, but again, thought this was something worth mentioning, especially since the first film was a massive success. When you think about it from a budget perspective, the box office results, and the amount of fans that just were attracted to this story, and just again, it was just something new. It was a breath of fresh air into the genre. So yeah, so let's just bring it up here real quick. So as you can see here, we are getting back the leading lady, Samara Weaving, and also Radio Science are officially back for Ready or Not 2. So just a couple things. Again, like I've done in the past, I will link these articles in the description of this video. But just a couple things here I wanted to point out is again, we are getting back Samara and Radio Silence back for the sequel, which is always good news. You never like to see a sequel with any film franchise. Doesn't matter if it's the part 2, doesn't matter if it's part 4. If a character is returning, I mean, at least for me, I always definitely want the same actors or actresses returning for those parts. I know sometimes, whether it's scheduling conflicts or they have other commitments to other projects, whatever the case may be, it sometimes just doesn't work out. But if you're gonna make a sequel to anything, again, my preference is you bring back as best as you can all the original cast and crew to make it just as much of a success. So, one of the things I noticed in this article put out there by Bloody Disgusting was there was a question. I mean, when I first saw the film, when I saw the first film and how it ended, the whole family pretty much being killed off, except for Samara's character, it made you wonder. Obviously, this is where it ends. There's not much room for a sequel, right? But if we see here, as it mentions here, the first film introduced a mythology wherein the wealthy La Damas family has made a deal with the devil, one that requires them to take part in bizarre and deadly wedding night traditions. So, and we saw that. Obviously, it's called Ready or Not, right? So they were obviously the whole family was trying to track her down and kill her before the night was over. They weren't successful. So I think going into the second film, there's a lot of ground that they can possibly cover. I mean, she's returning, so I think there's a question of whether or not we'll delve into if there's other members of this family we haven't seen yet that somehow get introduced, if there's another family that somehow is linked to this entire bizarre, like, witchcraft, this entire tradition that has to be done on each wedding night. So one thing I would like to have seen, that, I mean, we still could see, I mean, she could just be returning. I don't think she's just returning just as a minor part to get the audience in, and then they just use her for 5-10 minutes, and then we go somewhere else completely. One thing I would have liked to have seen from a sequel, or maybe something of a prequel, would have been how the family got themselves into this deal with the devil, to see how this all originated, because we do know in the first film that the father keeps mentioning the great-great-grandfather and how this kind of all started, and they have this like this shrine to him. So I would have liked to, I mean, they did touch on the history of the family a bit, but I would have liked to have seen more of that, maybe whether it was flashbacks or maybe now a spin-off film, right? I think that would have been nice to have seen. But nonetheless, we're still getting a sequel, which I think the fans of the first one are happy to see, especially after, was it been 5 years since the first film? So I mean, that's roughly about the time frame. I mean, we would tend to hear of a sequel. I mean, some films pump out sequels sooner than that. So hopefully with this one that they're taking their time a little bit. And yeah, so yeah, we're getting Ready or Not too. So one of the other things not mentioned in this article, which I will pull up another one here, which is a one from Variety, again talks about the sequel being confirmed. I mentioned briefly the box office success of the first one, right? So when we look at here, it cost only $6 million to make, yet it earned $28 million domestically, becoming Searchlight's biggest release in 2019. The movie was forecasted to make only $8 to $12 million, so obviously it was a pleasant success, and it was praised for its social commentary and unique storyline. I agree. Definitely a very unique storyline. One thing I found interesting when in the film, when she's drawing the card to see what game she's going to play, one of the other individuals who married into the family mentioned he played Old Maid. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience has ever remembers that game. Obviously, that probably ages me a bit. I remember Old Maid. I'm not sure though how he manages to survive, or how you end up potentially almost losing your life playing a game of Old Maid. But that was the card he picked, and he obviously survived because he was in the first film. He didn't make it out. He didn't make it out, but he was definitely in the first film. But obviously, like we've seen with any movie, right? If there's success and there's money to be made, they're more likely going to do a sequel. I mean, when you put in $6 million and you get $28 million domestically, I mean, that's a win-win, right? And I remember when this film came out, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing, a whole lot of press around it. It was kind of one of those horror films that flew under the radar. Unfortunately, it flew under the radar. I mean, now it's starting, over the last few years, it's starting to get a lot more attention, which is great. And obviously it's getting a lot more attention because it's getting a sequel. So again, another win for the horror genre. So yeah, so we're getting a sequel to Ready or Not. So again, I have a couple more articles. Again, here we jump over to Microsoft. They kind of touched on in this article, and you can see here the trailer. If you want to go back and watch the trailer for the first film, talks about as far as who are the cast already. Not again, we already know Samara is confirmed. I mean, she was teasing this a bit on Instagram for a while, as far as wanting and interested in coming back and doing a sequel. And now we're getting it. So that's, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm glad that she's coming back. Now, when we talk about the family, as it mentions here, and I was talking about what I would like to have seen and what the Bloody Disgusting article mentioned, this one happens to mention something a little bit different. It's expected that the story will delve deeper into the world of that family and their deadly traditions. Again, it will be interesting to see how they achieve that, just because what we saw in the first film, the entire family is dead. No one survived, even the husband, even the new couple. Her husband was the last one to get killed. He spoiler, he blew up. I mean, shouldn't be much of a spoiler if you're a horror movie fan. You would have probably seen this one already. If not, then spoiler, he dies. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see as far as what do they mean by getting deeper into this family's traditions. Again, if there's other family members still alive and they somehow show up to kind of take their revenge on her, or whatever the case may be, or is there another family that made a deal with the devil and they're kind of dealing with the same stuff, and she kind of comes in somehow into that family? Who knows, right? But obviously we'll see. I haven't seen this article, and the other one I have to share it pretty much covers some of the same stuff, right? Just some of the hype, some quotes here from the crew, from the creators, the directors, the writers, as well as Samara. And you can see here from her Instagram post, right? So again, glad to see she's coming back. But in all of this, though, and all this information, I have yet to see any potential release date. If anyone happens to know that information, I'm sure just drop a comment on the video. And definitely something we will be monitoring this sequel going forward. Again, it was definitely one of those ones that's one of our personal favorites, and looking forward to seeing this character come back and see what the sequel brings. So that's going to do it for today, everyone. Just remember to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it, and we'll see you at the next one. Peace.